Okay, so this video is about an editorial, and in this video we will break down this editorial to identify the structure of the text, or in a better or in a easier words, I would say, to identify how the author delivers the message and convince the readers. Okay, so this editorial is taken from theage.com.au, and The Age is a daily published in Melbourne, Australia, in the state of Victoria. So let us start from here. We usually read the editorial right from the title, and then so let us identify or let us analyze the title. Border closures are understandable, but they need to be handled better. So if you see, the title is a complete sentence. It's a complete expression of a full idea. This is not a phrase. Yeah, this is a complete clause or complete sentence. Border closures are understandable, but they need to be handled better. So that's the first one. It should be a complete sentence, not a phrase. Number two, usually, the title of editorial contains a recommendation, or in a stronger word, I should say, a demand of the author of what the authority should do concerning the current issue. I forgot to mention earlier that editorials are usually the newspaper's view, newspaper's opinion on the existing or the current issues taking place in the society. Okay, going back to the title of this editorial, border closures are understandable, but they need to be handled better. And what is nice from this title, number 3, is that from the very beginning, they give, or the author give the recommendations right at the title, right at the very beginning. Look at the second half of the sentence. They need to be handled better. They here refers to the closures or border closures. And border closures here, if you have read this text earlier or before, you would see that the border here means the interstate borders, between Queensland, between states in Australia. Now, let us continue to the first and the second paragraph of this editorial. Okay, you see the first paragraph and the second paragraph. The first paragraph here is giving us background information of what is happening in Australia, that the Australia implements a policy of strict rules of interstate travels here, and that is coming from the fact that many cases of COVID-19 are interstate, as elaborated in paragraph number 1. So in short, paragraph number 1 is again a background of what is happening, and as you connect to the title, this is a support to the government of what the government has implemented. Okay, so again, I would put a sign plus here as a support to the government. But now have a look at the second paragraph. And the second paragraph starts with but. And you know but connects two things in contradictions. And the contradictions is very clear with the use of arbitrary and cruel. Okay, so that one. As the painful and perverse consequences of the closure of the state's borders come to light, state governments should develop more compassionate and flexible approaches to implementing them, implementing the policies of closing the borders. So I would highlight here in the second paragraph is the second half of the second sentence or the last sentence here. Here I underline this. The state governments should develop more compassionate and flexible approaches to implementing the policies. If you again connect this to the title, this repeats the title or the second half of the title here. They need to be handled better. What is better here is now defined by giving more compassionate and flexible approaches. Okay, so that's one definition of better here. Okay, so again, this one, this part is the negative, and I would highlight this and I would remind you about this, and I believe you remember that this is the sorry, not the title. This is the thesis of the editorial. This is the core. This is the point. This is the main point of the editorial that the newspaper wants the reader to do. That the government should handle the policies better. How? By giving or by adopting more compassionate and flexible approaches. Okay, so I would say this is the thesis. And I believe you remember this terminology or these terms when you discuss how to write expositions and discussions. Now, let us continue with what comes next. Okay, so let us see the third paragraph here. Let us see here now. Okay, this is some, this third paragraph talks about some incidents. Yeah? To show that the government or the policy is not well implemented. It gives, it is too risky for some people. Okay? By turning the people who have already arrived at the borders, and the government forced them to return back to their way after a very long travel. Here it's mentioned 2,300 kilometers. And then also, again, the author, or yes, the editorial gives that this is a very bad experience. And again, have a look at this. Forcing people with little outback experience onto unsealed desert road in low clearance vehicles. Low clearance means the vehicle with a very low, low clearance, that's very low. And when you come to a very bumpy road, then you will find it difficult to pass the road. So it could easily put some lives at risk. This is even as dangerous as probably the virus or the COVID. Okay, so again is the first incidents. Okay, look at also again the next paragraph. Right? Okay, and this talk about the negative implementation or the implementation that needs improvement. Seandainya, so again, better planning would have avoided the problem, and Victoria has begun issuing permits to Victorians in Queensland and the ICT allowing them to drive back through New South Wales. Okay, people are urged to stop only when they're necessary and wear a mask in the public places. So government should make a better planning for this. Okay, and again, let us now continue to the next or to this paragraph. While governments have promised to show compassion in granting exemption to border closure, cases continue to emerge. Yes, so we still have cases where pleas for help have been met with a wall of bureaucracy. All right, okay. Exemption is okay, but the bureaucracy is quite complicated. All right, now, okay, and another one, okay, this is another negative point given by the author. All right, then this is, okay, for this, okay. So once again, this is another criticism of the author of the editorial to what the government has done. But the pandemic makes more closer, almost inevitable, and plans to cover these eventualities should have been put in place long ago. Sorry. So this one is again the positive. But again, look at this. Should have been put in place long ago. So the editorial wants to say that the government was actually late in making the policy. All right, before we move to the second page of this editorial, let us wrap up this page. So once again, the title is repeated, or I should say elaborated in the first and the second paragraph. Okay, in the first and the second paragraph, with or ended with a thesis in the second paragraph. Okay, and the body will start with the negative or the incidents to show or to give examples of what really happens when the state governments close the borders. Here, paragraph 3, paragraph 4, and paragraph 5 are some examples of the incidents where people find difficulty when already they are at the borders of the states. Okay, and also here paragraph number 6 here is also another point of negative things that the author wants to show the readers of what is happening in the society. And then also then this one, while the author mentioned that the policy is good, but probably it is quite late when to implement this policy of closing the borders. Okay, so that is what we see on page number 1. Now let us move to page number 2 here. Paragraph here now. This is paragraph 8. So again, we find the negative word of inconsistency, and you will see this is paragraph 8. Again, this is another negative event, negative or incident. Yeah, we should say incidents that show the policy needs improvement. Right? Okay, and have a look at this. Starting from here down, this is the recommendations. Yeah, okay. Look at this. Look at this 2 paragraph. All these 2 paragraph, or both these 2 paragraph, so the recommendation from the newspapers. All right, and have a look at this. The argument for more consistent and smarter border closure have been taken up strongly by business groups. The author also quote, yes, or cite some other parties' recommendation of better implementation of border closures. Okay, so here, these two paragraphs are directly from the author, but this one is from the Business Council of Australia and AIG. Okay, right, and later here is again the emphasis of the recommendations. Right? All right, okay. Now, the last sentence here is the closure. People will be more willing to follow restrictions. Restrictions here refer to border closures, such even this is elaborated there, such as border closures, if they can see they here is the closure or the policies or the restriction, they are proportionate, compassionate, and well executed. If you remember, this is refer to be to do this one, to be handled better. This is in the title. Okay, and this one I will say that this one is a restatement of the thesis. Okay, so to wrap up, editorial start with a title in a full sentence, and it usually contains already a recommendation or a demand from the author, from the newspaper, to the authority to do something. Okay, and the title is briefly elaborated in the first 1 or 2 paragraphs as the introduction, and at the end of the introduction is the thesis. Okay, this is again is the core, is the main point of the editorial, and the parts after that are the background information, are examples of what the editorial is looking at, that is the implementation of border closures that needs improvement. So that is why the author here gives us some examples of how the policies exactly or really needs improvement. Yeah, in paragraph number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 8 here, and number 8 here. And after giving the examples of what needs improvement, why it needs improvement, and the author gives us the recommendations of what the government should do here. Start from here at the end or at the second half of the editorial, and at the very last paragraph, the editorial is closed with a restatement of the thesis. Again, the thesis is repeated twice, or the title is repeated twice. That is in the title, in the thesis, at the end of the introductions, and right at the end of the editorial. Okay, I hope you can. This video can help you understand the structure of editorial better. And if you have questions, feel free to drop the questions in our WhatsApp groups, or you can also send me a message to my